Your objective when you're investing money is to maximize returns, minimize risk. And the risk factor, they call that beta, and the return is alpha. But let's say you take an asset, say this office building. As an investor, I could say, okay, I get a 10% return, 10% yield from this asset. But there's an associated risk that, you guys may default, may go out of business. That's probably a low.
Flood.
Yeah, flood. But that's pretty minimum. So I'd say, okay, we got an alpha, beta, or a risk factor of 2. So why would you put all your eggs in one basket? And if you want a 10% return, why not have 10 assets that yield 10%? Because what you get there, you still get an average return of 10. You just do math. But what happens through diversification? 10 assets, with all of which have a risk factor of 2. Through diversification, through an algorithm, you actually drive down that beta from 2 to maybe 1. So what happens then, once you know that, you have 10 assets, they all have the same yield, all have the same beta or the risk factor. Through diversification, having 10, you drive it down. So what that allows you to do, knowing that, is you can go after assets that yield 12 or 13 or 14, and then diversify with a lot of different assets, and you'll get an average return of 13, but you drive down that risk factor than if you were to just put it in one asset at 10% with a beta. But this is what everyone's been doing, and Mr. Patterson, and I think you mentioned in our debate that the legislature basically dictates the parameters from which we can invest. But when Mr. Ekstrom came in and he but pleaded to the legislators to change the system so we could invest in equities, they had all been totally convinced, I don't want to use the word brainwash, maybe that's too strong, by Mr. Patterson that this was a risky proposition, you could not do this. And he had to go and meet with each one of these legislators. So I think that given the bully pulpit of the Treasurer's post and the fact that people are looking to him for guidance, he has not been giving the correct guidance. And so, moving forward, I'm glad to see he's on board with this, ballot measure to invest globally, but also to invest in other classes of assets, whether it be real estate, commodities, hedge funds. They don't say we won't put all our money in commodities. No, just a little bit there. But a lot of money in a lot of different areas. Global securities, now they're more volatile, but they're non-correlated with domestic investments. So when you combine the two, that draws down the risk, but you have a higher return. So, let's just do like most of the rest of the other states. In the last 3 years, we were in the lowest percentile, one being the highest, or I think 100 being the highest, and I don't know how they do it. We were in the 99th percentile, if one's the best. So we were in the last percentile, underperformed mediocrity by 77%. It was 70.